Okay, so we are beginning a new Sefer in Chumash. We're entering Sefer Bamidbar. And Parshas Bamidbar begins, Vayidaber Hashem el Moshe. Hashem speaks to Moshe Bamidbar Sinai, in Midbar Sinai, in the desert. Ba'ol Mo'i be'echad l'chodesh hasheni, b'shana hashenis l'tzeisa me'eretz Mitzrayim lemor. In this time period, this amount of time since they left Mitzrayim. So the Torah begins this parsha by telling us something that we already know. It tells us that Bnei Yisrael are in Midbar Sinai, that Hashem is speaking to them, to Moshe, and then to all of Klal Yisrael, in the desert. We already know that clearly, as some of the Sfarim point out, and yet the Torah tells it to us again. It also tells us, L'tzeisa me'eretz Mitzrayim, that this is happening after a certain amount of time from leaving Mitzrayim. We also know that already. We know that Bnei Yisrael had just left Mitzrayim not so long ago. I guess you could say it's giving us the exact amount of time since leaving. But when the Torah repeats or introduces a section of the Torah by repeating information we already know, then obviously what that means is that it is trying to tell us that what we are about to encounter, what we are about to learn in the following psukim, needs to be understood in the context of the fact that they're in Midbar Sinai and that they had recently left Mitzrayim. It repeats these pieces of information that we already know because it's trying to tell us that the following part of Torah should be understood in the context of this moment, of this experience. So as we always do, we're trying to learn the Torah, the same words of Torah, the same halachos of Torah, the same Mesorah of Torah, and we're trying to learn it in the way that it comes to life in a new way, specifically in our times, in the language and thoughts and feelings and experiences that occupy our inner world and our lives. So for us, what is the Torah teaching us? What is it telling us? What does it mean that they're in Midbar Sinai, and what does it mean that this happened a certain amount of time, L'tzeisa me'eretz Mitzrayim, from leaving Mitzrayim? I think what it means is like this. When something is described as a certain amount of time from a previous event, it's the second month in the second year from leaving Mitzrayim. What that means is that the experience they're going through is something that is tied to having left Mitzrayim. It's connected to having been in Mitzrayim and having left Mitzrayim. And we know, especially it's not so long after Pesach, so some of you have heard me speak about this, hopefully not, but maybe even ad nauseum. We know that Mitzrayim is the experience of Meitzarim. It's the experience of constriction, the experience of difficulty. And the experience of Mitzrayim was an experience of shibud, of slavery, having no experience of one's own self, no experience of autonomy, of agency, of personhood, just being a slave, being meshubud, being constricted. But they left Mitzrayim. This is now Chodesh Hasheni, B'shana Hashenis, L'tzeisa me'eretz Mitzrayim, from the time they left Mitzrayim. So on the one hand, they left Mitzrayim, but we're still counting this time as relating to the time of Mitzrayim, which means that something about that experience of Mitzrayim is still alive. And that's exactly why I think what it means, Bimidbar Sinai, that they're in a desert. And of course, physically, a desert is a place, and that's where they were. This happened. They were in the desert of Sinai. But what that also means for us, because we're not in the Sinai desert, what that means for us is that the Torah is telling us something about the experience of what it's like to feel, to have a moment in time in one's life that is a midbar experience, a desert experience, an experience of feeling a lack, a dryness, like a desert. There's no life, there's no moisture, there's no resources, there's no food, there's no luxuries, there's no delicacies. It's dry, it's barren, it's empty. So in the experience of leaving Mitzrayim, even though Bnei Yisrael left Mitzrayim, but they're still counting from Mitzrayim. They still feel tethered in some way to Mitzrayim. And they still feel that they're in a midbar. They still feel that sense of being in a desolate place, a dry place, a place that doesn't give birth to life. That's the context of whatever we're about to now learn in the Parsha. That's why the Torah begins this Parsha by telling us what we already know. But it's trying to tell us not what we already know factually. It's trying to tell us, I'm about to tell you something. Hashem says, I'm about to give you a message. And the message I'm about to give you, you should understand, is a message that is trying to speak to you for when you're having Midbar Sinai moments, let's say some Me'eretz Mitzrayim, that when you experience the desert, that is in the aftermath, even after you've gotten out of Mitzrayim. Meaning to say that each of us in our lives goes through Mitzrayim experiences. And Hashem takes us out of those Mitzrayim experiences. We leave Mitzrayim, let's say some Me'eretz Mitzrayim. But yet, they echo, and they reverberate, and the Mitzrayim is still speaking to us. So much so that we might actually know that we've left Mitzrayim. I'm not in the Shibud anymore, but things just don't feel energetic. They feel like a desert. And I think that I'm living in a desert. And Hashem tells us now, when you're in that moment, Vayidaber Hashem el Moshe b'midbar Sinai b'oel moed b'echad l'chodesh hasheni b'shana hashenis l'tzei sameretz Mitzrayim lemor. When you're in that moment, here's what you need to hear. What do you need to hear? The next pasuk. Su'u es rosh kol adas b'nei Yisrael mishpachosam. Lift up or count the head of each of the different groups and families within Klal Yisrael, the Shvatim. And now the Torah goes through appointing the Nasi, the leader of each one of the Shvatim. And it tells us this is the person who was appointed for this, and this is who was appointed for that. And then after appointing the specific Shvatim, it now tells us the lineage, the heritage of each of these people. And it connects that. And then it goes through the different Shvatim and tells us the job that each Shevet has. So what's the Torah telling us? And, a lot of it is just like detail of names, and this is that one, and the numbers, and all that kind of stuff. So it's like, for what? Like, why is that taking up space in the Torah? But it's telling us something essential. It's telling us that when you are in your Midbar Sinai, let's say some Me'eretz Mitzrayim moment, what you need is to feel appointed. And if you know somebody going through a moment like that, what you need to do for them is to offer them appointment. That you need to count them. You need to be counted. You need to be given a position of some form. What do I mean by that? I talk a lot about the need for attachment, as you may know, right? The need for relationship, to feel a sense of connection. It's very interesting. Rabbi Manis Friedman, amazing, brilliant thinker, he takes a little bit of a different approach. He says attachment, relationship, is not enough. It's not really what people need fully. He disagrees. I don't know, we've never had this as an argument, but it seems to me that he would disagree with what I advocate for. Not that he disagrees, not that he thinks it's not important, but it's not what the essence of what a person needs is. He says the essence of what a person needs is not to feel that they're loved. It's to feel that they're needed. It's not to feel connected. I don't mean it's not to feel connected, but that's not the ikr of it. It's not to feel connected. It's to feel that I'm important, that I'm needed for something, that I have an appointment, that I have a position. Now, I still maintain that attachment is the ikr, and that's why I focus on attachment. But I very much agree with him that what he's saying has a lot of truth to it. A person every human being needs to feel that they're needed in some way, that there's something that they are here to do that is unique for them to do, that there's a purpose to their being, that there's some position that they occupy, that they're appointed for something, they're charged with something. There's something significant that they bring to the world, that they are in a position that they're supposed to be doing. And when a person has that sense of appointment, that sense of shlichus, that sense of being a messenger, that sense of you're tasked with something, you're vital, you're needed for this, a person can really get through things. A person can wake up. A person feels important. It feels like they matter. I was thinking about this with Shavuos. The Gemara Psachim tells us that on Shavuos, it's in the context of a halachic discussion I'm not going to get into right now, but the Gemara tells us, Hakol modim de ba'atzeres be'inon nami lachem. Everybody agrees that when it comes to Shavuos, to Atzeres, which the Gemara calls Shavuos, Torah calls it Atzeres, when it comes to Shavuos, you also need lachem, which in the halachic context there means that you also need to actually partake in physicality. You need to eat. You need to eat food to mekayim the mitzvah of Simchas Yantif. That's what it means in its literal context. But I think another hidden message in those words is that on Shavuos, do you know what we discover on Shavuos? Hakol modim, everybody agrees, the ba'atzeres, that on Shavuos, you know what we find? The be'inon, that we need, nami also, lachem, you, that you're needed. Because on Shavuos, Hashem gives us the Torah and says, I'm giving this the Torah to all of Klal Yisrael, but you have a spot at Har Sinai that only you can stand in. And the Torah is being given for everyone collectively, but it's being given for you individually. Because something in the Torah can be fulfilled dafka specifically by you. You're being appointed to something. You're needed for something. I created you because you have something you need. Because there's something that's needed from you. When I talk about the fact that people need attachment or people need to feel needed, I don't just mean it as a psychological reality. The psychological reality is a reflection of a spiritual truth. The reason why we need attachment is because our soul is created for connection. So psychologically, we experience the need for attachment. The reason why we need to feel needed, the reason why it helps a person, why it wakes them up, why it energizes them, why it gives them resilience, why it gives them strength, why it gives them the ability to work through hard things. The reason why it works, the reason why there is a psychological need, is because that's a reflection, that's a symptom of the spiritual reality. The spiritual reality is that you are needed. It's not like a hack, it's not a trick. It's not like, oh, we can make you feel needed and then you'll be able to get through it. The reason why you need to feel needed and the reason why it works when you feel needed is because you actually are needed. Hashem created you in this world because you're needed for something. So of course you naturally feel the need to feel needed. And of course when you feel needed, you wake up and it works and you feel important and you feel a sense of energy and resilience and strength and perseverance. Because that's actually the reality. The reality is that you are needed. And on Shavuos, we come to this recognition. Hakol modim de ba'atzeres be'inon nami lachem. Everybody agrees on Shavuos. The be'inon, that we need nami lachem, that we need you. I think that this is, I have the opportunity sometimes to work with bachrim and with families and speak to rabbeim or parents. I think that there's a tremendous bracha that Klal Yisrael is experiencing nowadays, which is that we have thousands. We've grown so much. We have thousands of people learning in yeshivas. I mean, more than thousands. We have hundreds of Roshei Yeshiva, of Rabbanim, maybe thousands of Roshei Yeshiva and Rabbanim. We have tremendous amount of Talmidei Chachamim, real Talmidei Chachamim. I think one of the challenges that comes from that bracha, it's an amazing accomplishment that Klal Yisrael has had. But one of the challenges that come from that is that someone can live in that world and feel like, what does it matter if I learn? What does it matter even if I become a Talmid Chacham? I mean, unless I become, I become Rav Chaim Kanievsky, okay, Rav Elyashiv, but Stam, even if I become a big Talmid Chacham, like, there's nothing unique about that. There's so many big Talmid Chachamim at this point. And similarly, okay, so, a guy thinks, okay, maybe I should become a Gvir. I can support yeshivas. I can support chesed organizations. I can help people. But even that, I mean, listen, Klal Yisrael always needs more resources. We have so many needs, but people are always looking to fundraise. But at the same time, if you're a kid growing up, looking around, it's like, okay, so I'll become another Gvir. How many Gvir am I there? Whether it's the reality or not that there are, but it feels like there are so many. There are so many. Everywhere you turn, there's another person of, really, really financial successful means who's able to give a lot. So a guy grows up, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 years old, 21 years old. It's like, so what am I even needed for? Like, I'm expendable. I'm just another guy in a system of thousands of people. Like, what am I really needed for? And I think it's easy to see that with the yeshiva bachrim age and profile. But I think it's relevant to all of us, to in whatever context. The incredible success of Klal Yisrael growing so much is that the challenge that emerges from that is that we've grown so much, we have so much of everything, every individual can start to feel expendable. And when a person feels expendable, then they live an experience of Midbar Sinai. They live an experience of, I look around and like there's no life here. The Midbar Sinai is not even around. It's not I look around, it's I look inside. My inner landscape becomes a desert. It becomes dry. There's no fruit. There's no plants. There's no flowers. My inner landscape doesn't have color anymore. It's just dry, plain old sand. What does it mean? What is it for? That's the Midbar Sinai. That's the Midbar Sinai that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is telling us about in the beginning of the Parsha. Veidaber Hashem al Moshe Midbar Sinai. When your inner world all of a sudden feels like a Midbar Sinai because what do I really matter? Here's what Hashem is telling you. Su'u es rosh kol adas b'nei Yisrael. You need to find a way for yourself, and maybe when you're in a position to help others, to give everybody the experience of hakol modim debat seres bina nami lachem, that you're needed. What is your appointment? Now, I think the blending of what I'm talking about with attachment and what Rabbi Manis Friedman is talking about with needing to be needed is that what we need to do is we need to find a way to create significance to being needed and to feeling that I am needed in ways that are not necessarily from big public positions. I'm needed for the small things. And to me, the way that works is that in my experience, when a person has healthy attachments, when they have relationship, they don't need to be needed in these big leadership, stature, status ways. They still need to be needed, but they need to be needed in their immediate surrounding. They need to be needed by their spouse. They need to be needed by their kids. They need to be needed by their friends. They need to be needed by their community, by their shul, in small, simple, quiet ways. And then, of course, there are individuals whose neshamas, whose personality needs to be needed in broader, bigger ways, and that's great. But by and large, the need to be needed, when it comes on top of healthy attachment, is a need to be needed in simple ways. You need to be needed, but in simple ways. When the need to be needed is coming on top of an empty world of attachment, then the need to be needed is a need for big attention, for big stuff. And that doesn't actually fill a person up. And it doesn't exist because not everybody can have that. That's not reality. So the combination is that when we have real, healthy, basic attachments, now I can feel fulfilled in my need to be needed from basic things. And that's where real, genuine fulfillment comes from. But this is what I believe the Torah is telling us about in this week's Parsha. When you're in your Midbar Sinai experience, let's say some Eretz Mitzrayim experience, Su'ues Rosh Kol Adas B'nai Yisrael, find a way to recognize, to identify, and maybe I can't even fully identify it, but to believe that I'm here with a purpose. I'm here with a purpose. I have something I need to do. I was created because there's something that I'm supposed to be accomplishing here. Accomplishing doesn't mean that my name is going on some plaque. It doesn't mean I'm being honored at something. It doesn't mean any recognition. It means that I'm needed. It means there are things that I am here to do that I'm needed for. And when a person has that sense of why, they can get through any what. When there is that sense of I'm needed, I'm important for something, we all find a whole new reservoir of strength. It's like the person in Midbar Sinai in the desert, and all of a sudden they come upon a field with a running spring of water and green grass and flowers and an apple tree, and all of a sudden the whole world is lit up again. When a person feels that sense of my existence is important for something. Hashem should help us that in our Midbar Sinai L'tzeisa Me'eretz Mitzrayim experiences, we can have the experience of being lifted up, Su'ues Rosh Kol Adas B'nai Yisrael, everyone in Klal Yisrael, by finding our appointment, our reason for being here in this world, that Hashem sent our neshama into this particular life at this particular moment with all these particular details of exactly the life that I'm living. Have a great Shabbos.